Buenas tardes, familia. Marángeli Mejía, aquí del Philadelphia Latino Film Festival. Bienvenidos a esta conversación con uno de nuestros cineastas, Blake Vaz from Matches. And I'm going to pass it to him.
Hola.
You can learn about his work. And then we have 3 questions for him. This are part of our PHLAFF 2023 conversations and Q&As with filmmakers, just to have an opportunity to continue to build community. Thank you for joining us. Hola, Blake.
Thank you so much. Hola. First of all, muchas gracias. Thank you for having Matches as be part of the festival. I believe one of my previous shorts had been a few years ago selected, but I think I've seen kind of the how much work you're putting into this, how much you're trying to kind of like not just do the same thing, but evolve. And it's a very great space for upcoming filmmakers and people who want to kind of get involved into this space. So thank you so much for giving us this space. Quick introduction. My name is Blake Vaz. I live in Los Angeles. I've been here for about 20 years. I'm originally from the border town of El Paso, Texas, with Juarez, Mexico. I was raised in Juarez, born in El Paso, moved out here, like I said, 20 years ago. And I think I've been messing around with the camera and film since I was a kid. So I've always been enamored by this medium. And I professionally didn't start really until possibly, I want to say about 10 years ago, really kind of like working into video production. And then that's when I really decided that I wanted to start getting into, more serious filmmaking, independent, obviously, but trying to do our best. So yeah. And Matches, which was selected this year's festival, the Philadelphia Latino Film Festival, was something that I directed about a year ago, I believe is when we finished it. It's my 3rd short film that I've directed. I've produced or edited or scored a few others with my collaborators. One of them is Daniel Gomez, our director of photography, who is a close collaborator. We work together a lot. Matches came about. We had just finished another short film that did really well at festivals called Luna. One of our really good friends, an actor, Rudy Marquez, amazing actor. You can check him out and doing a lot of stuff on, a lot of the series that are right now on Apple TV and things like that, doing a lot of commercials. And, great guy. He wanted to get in front of the camera. And I mean, behind the camera, he's had a great career as an actor. And he asked me if I would be willing to kind of, help him out, maybe allow him to shadow me so he could kind of learn. We were producing a short film for Daniel Gomez, as I mentioned earlier, our DP, who's also a director. And I told him, sure, this was basically a short film that we were going to do with just a couple of friends. And he kind of immediately gravitated towards being a really good producer and production coordinator. So after we worked together, he told me, like, listen, I have my brother and I, younger brother of his, Daniel Marquez, co-writer of Matches. They had this story that they wanted to put out. It was their first time trying to write something. So they first shared it with me, and then they told me, like, listen, we have a lot of ideas. We don't know if this can be like a feature or perhaps like a web series, but this is the idea. This is the script, and we love what you do. We'll love if you guys can help us kind of get this off the ground. We don't feel comfortable directing, but perhaps you can come on board, and Daniel can be our DP. So basically, this was very grassroots, like through our connections. I mean, if we could truly put a number on how much Matches would have cost, I think it would have cost a lot if because of our resources, but everything was through friends. Everything was like trying to help each other out. We're trying to build a community of filmmakers here in LA. Most of us are Latino, but minorities. And there's a lot of talented people in LA. And so the only way to really put your foot forward and kind of make noise is to create your own mini community and then start empowering each other. And so that's what we've been doing. And that's how kind of Matches came about. It's very grassroots. It was super fun because we were all understanding that there wasn't this pressure of like, listen, we're spending all this money or whatever. It's like, let's make the best we can do. And obviously I really connected to the story when I first read it. And one of the first things that I told Rudy and Daniel is like, listen, I love this. I'm not an actor, but I think that as a director, it's important to understand the sensibilities of actors. And it's like, would you mind if I played one of the roles in the movie? And that was great because I also got to see, as a director, Rudy's process as an actor and how he builds his characters and creates these backstories that is extremely important for directors to know and appreciate. Obviously, each actor has different methods, but this was very important. So we worked together on creating these characters because his character and mine were very close in the movie. These were two kind of you would say criminals that basically are victims of their circumstances. They grew up in a certain environment. Like we see a lot with people who unfortunately with less means are kind of like pushed to the corner of our societies, and the only thing that you can do is sometimes, unfortunately, is get involved into sketchy stuff and bad stuff, right? So we kind of wanted to explore that, even though you don't see that in the short. It's 15 minutes, so you're not going to see that, but I thought it was important, and so it was amazing. And so I think what was challenging for me, like I said, in terms of producing it, it was all a community affair. It was a process of working together. My wife helped. Daniel's girlfriend helped. We were all producers. We were all wearing multiple hats. And so we've done that in the past, and that was amazing, and that was really fun. But what was challenging for me was trying to direct and act at the same time. In some of my other shorts, I have done cameos, but it's 10 seconds in camera. This one, I'm one of the main characters, and so I found it would be a great challenge for me to grow as a filmmaker. Again, I have no. I mean, it would be great if I can do it again, but that's not my goal. My goal was to act so that I can understand actors better, and that was challenging. That was challenging to get to learn that and understand how you're trying to put different hats and basically put yourself in a separate mentality from being the director to being the actor. But thankfully, we had a great team. Again, when I was in front of the camera, Daniel Gomez, my director of photography, I trust him with, he understands my creative vision and vice versa. So, I knew that if I was in front of the camera and perhaps there was something that I was missing as a director, he would catch it. So that was great. That was probably the most challenging. Obviously, in terms of everything else, it was great. It was a collaborative process. We were able to do everything together. The music was also composed by myself and my partner who does all the music with me and produces it and records it. Julio Cervantes, he's amazing. We actually, in a separate festival, we won Best Soundtrack. So it was amazing. It was amazing. I think that of all the projects that I've been involved that are kind of like more personal for us, I think this was good. This was a good exercise of really working as a community, really working as a team, where it was a fully collaborative process in terms of, listen, I didn't write this, so I know that there's certain things that they want in terms of the vision, because it's very, it's not biographical by any means. However, they are Mexican American who were born here, and so they understand this. I was born in a different place. I was born in Texas, but I was raised in Mexico. It's a different kind of mentality, different things, and so I also didn't want to say like I don't like that, because it's not my experience as a LA Chicano or Mexican American. So whether I would agree or not, they had to educate me to say like, well, no, maybe back in Juarez you do it this way, but this is how we do it here. And so that was great. All this collaborative process was amazing, and I think we learned a lot from each other, and it was one of the best experiences I had, I think, on set.
Amazing. Congrats on your work. You have answered 2 of the 3 questions that we have for you today. And thank you for your work, and thank you for your commitment to community and to the process, right? Both of collaboration and of filmmaking. So how do you hope audiences will react to your film? That is our last question.
Okay. Well, as you know, Matches is a crime movie, and it touches upon a delicate subject. And without kind of spoiling too much, there is the story focuses on a first generation American high school girl who's about to graduate. She just got accepted into the college of her dreams. Her mother is an immigrant. She basically crossed to the United States to give her a better life. Her father passed away on the way, which is not really mentioned in the movie, but in the larger script it was. but it's important to tell you who our main character is, right? And so she is a hard worker. Her mother works as a domestic employee at the house of these people who are very well off in the community, and they are it's a family who, led by the father, is helps the community, is trying to help to open these centers to help battered women and things like that. So on the surface, this family is great. They're Americans. They're involved politically in many things, but at first glance, it seems like it's like he's a really good guy. So he actually helps her with a letter of recommendation. So in this during the process, they basically treat her like family, right? The family that the mother works for has a daughter who's the same age. They go out and to celebrate the fact that she was accepted. In this process, they get into trouble, right? They go out to a bar. They're underage. The other girl gets her like a fake ID, and then they meet these bad characters, which unfortunately you later find out they're involved in sex trafficking, and so in terms of going back, I say all this to kind of answer the question, because the question is, how do I hope that audiences will react to the film? The film has a few moments that are violent, that are ugly, that touch upon these things, kidnapping, like I said, sex trafficking. But I think that one of the main things that Rudy, Daniel, and I discussed, the writers and myself, when I looked at this, and I'm like, I want to make sure that, because they did have an idea of making this into a bigger piece of content, whether it's a web series, a series, or a feature, I was worried that because this is just a capsule of the whole story, that it was gonna come as we were exploiting the issue, right? Which is sex trafficking, human trafficking, and a lot with immigrants that come to the LA. I mean, to LA, a lot of us don't see this, but LA is one of the biggest places where this occurs, and it occurs in big percentages to immigrants who are coming here for a better life, who might not have anybody to protect them while they get here. Their families are in different countries and stuff, and people don't stop hearing from them. They assume, well, they're probably working and they're figuring it out. And these things happen, and though it's really hard for them to get out of these situations. So for me, I want to make sure that the short is understood as that's what we're trying to kind of put forward, that this is something that happens to immigrants, to families of immigrants. It doesn't matter just Latinos, but it does happen to a lot of Latinos and people who come to the Caribbean. But in general, immigrants to this country, they fall victims sometimes to people who, take advantage of people who don't have anyone to kind of, help them out here in the United States, or kind of walk them through, or just basic assistance, right? And so they fall into bad situations. And so I want to make sure that the audience understands that. At the end, we kind of show that, and I tried to connect with certain organizations that were helping, victims of sex trafficking, human trafficking. I didn't get any response from anybody, but I wanted to kind of like put something general, which I did at the end. 1-800 number, kind of like these resources for people to be helped if they feel that somebody they know or themselves are part of this issue. And so that's what I want the audience to react to the film. The film is visceral. The film has this very verite kind of documentary style visually, and the way the camera shakes, and that was done very purposely by our DP and myself, Daniel Gomez, to give that sense of reality. And so there's violent moments, and there's things that are not that great, but unfortunately that's the reality, and we would be doing a disservice to the film if we hid the realities of what this world is. That involves young women like our character to be pulled into this underworld. So I hope they see that that's what we're trying to do, that it's in no way we're exploiting the issue.
Muchísimas gracias. Una de las cosas que yo he ofrecido cuando hemos hablado del festival en los pasados años es que it's important for us to tell our stories the way they need to be told. So that comes to mind as you offer this consideration that it's key, right? Am I Am I fitting into stereotypes? Am I exploiting realities? And the reality is that no, it is your story. It is our community story to tell. And there is that element of nuance, and that element of humanizing those stories, right? And like
Exactly.
looking at all sides. And at the same time, there are harsh realities that lead to tough conversations that we need to have within our communities and also with other communities as we engage in cultural dialogue.
And that's a great point, because obviously we do not want to continue feeding these stereotypes where like us as Latinos or Mexican Americans, we're only getting these roles where we're the cholo or the narco or the gardener or the help, which in this case, in this short, unfortunately, I do touch upon all those things, right? It's like, the mother of the girl, she's a domestic worker. The other guys, the bad guys, one of the guys that I played there, were cholos, were bad guys, a product of our environment. And I actually got comments from other people that I know and people who actually run other film festivals that understandably so are trying to get away from this type of content, but at the same time, this exists, right? I understand, but if, like, for example, I'm from Juarez. That place is, it's been up and down, but it's dangerous because it's a border town, like most border towns. A lot of the cartels are there. So I've seen a lot of drug activity, narco activity, and that's a reality to this day. So if I'm going to make a movie that's based in Juarez, people are sick of talking about narcos because this is a reality they see every day, and the violence. I get that. But at the same time, it would be naive to pretend that it doesn't exist, because it exists. Now, it would be bad if we exploit it, but it's not about exploitation. This is what happened. And if you're telling, like, to your point, a community story, it's part of it, right? And so in this case, for matches, going back to that, is, this is a reality. Of course, we want to make sure that we are showing our people in many different ways, because we're not just one thing. We're everything, right? Like everybody else, we can be everything else. But I'm not only going to make movies where the Latino main character is, educated, rich, traveling, talented guy. Sorry about that. Let me.
Hey, ahora digo yo, it's part of it.
están involucrados en la conversación. They agree with me. Bruce, come here. Bruce and Nina, other names. But yeah, so it would be naive to just not ever make a movie about that, where there's like a Latino guy who's a gardener.
And we're hiding from it.
Exactly. You can't do that. It's a reality. And so I understand the thing about stereotypes and only putting or showing us as Latinos as one thing and only like that. I get that. But there's still stories to be told, because we still exist. Not all of us are rich. Not all of us are like, working. Some of us do have to work as gardeners. Some of us do have to do this and provide for our families. And that doesn't mean that, is it a stereotype? Yes, it is a stereotype if it's put forward in a negative way. But at the end of the day, as Latinos, as Mexicanos, and Mexican Americans, we're hard workers. We're here to, try to provide for our families and, kind of like put our head down and make and give our families what we can, right?
Y somos diverse as a community.
Y somos diversos,
not a monolith. We're not, so that includes everything that you can think of. I remember moving here in the late 80s, and people will ask me what a Puerto Rican looked like, because they couldn't, like the diversity of looks and skin colors and this, and they will ask me, like, what does a Puerto Rican look like? And I will just go,
like, like everybody else.
Anybody could be like, anybody.
Yes.
Like, and I think, we talk a lot about diversity, but then at some point we have to, like, again, the uncomfortable conversations that are necessary, conversations that are critical for us to self-actualize and to grow and to build community together. 100%.
And in terms, and I just wanted to add to that, it's like, coming from where I come from and working, been lucky to work with people, amazing people from all over the world. Some of my closest friends are from Puerto Rico, and one of my friends says that she's blonde, and people sometimes, it's like the other side of the coin. It's like, you're not Latina, like you're not, like whoa, like, for example, in Mexico, where I come from, my first cousin, my mom and his mom look exactly alike. And he's like 6'3", blonde. He looks nothing like me. But that doesn't mean that, but we're blood related. So it's like, we're so diverse that for people to say like, you don't look Mexican, or they told me this, you don't talk like Mexican in español, cuando hablan español. Le digo, well, how do we speak? How am I supposed to speak?
Correcto.
Like, we're diverse. We come from very different, the slang, the words we use, the vernacular is completely different. And so that doesn't make me less or more Latino or less Mexican or more Mexican. So that's a big point. And those are things that we need to explore. Going back to the stereotypes, we have to continue to tell the stories as long as they're done respectfully. I see no problem to continue to tell stories of people who have different life experiences, not just all the positivity, all the glamour, all the whatever.
Well, this is all the unpacking and all the deeper dives.
Exactly.
Right? That we talk about. And it's part of our self-love.
Exactly.
Embracing who we are.
Who we are.
And with all of our imperfections and nuestras idiosincrasias y todas las cosas que make us who we are. And accept and embracing that beauty.
We have to, and it's like, for me, I just want to finish this with that because it's a big thing. It's a big thing. It's been a big thing that, especially for Mexicans, we can be very racist. We can be very classist. Where I come from, it's like I just mentioned you the example of my family. My wife, Violeta, was also a producer in the film, and she's in the background as well in a few scenes. She is also very light skinned. She has hazel eyes. She is what we would call white, and blonde, right? Or güera, como decimos allá. She's from Juarez. She grew up there just like me. We talk exactly the same. We grew up. We have the same life experiences, and so, but people don't understand that it's one or the other. Obviously, I do want to point out that we can be very racist. We can be very Mexicans. And that's not, it's something that we also have to kind of look at in terms of not just how you look, but in terms of how you act, how you look at somebody and make a decision of who they are, right? And so that's important. That's actually, before we finish this, our team is collaborating on our new film, which will be an anthology. It's called Frutero. And it's based on a fruit vendor on the streets. I don't know, here in LA, they've been in Southern California. There's been a string of attacks. They attack them, they break their cards, they rob them. It's bad. There is a few people who are activists here locally who are doing a great job helping them. And I also want to, the story is not just about that, but that happens, right? The person, the frutero, gets attacked. And this, it's basically the center of everything else that happens in the anthology. But I also want to do the same thing with matches. I wanted to make sure that this is not something that I'm exploiting, but it is a way for me to educate other people that might not be aware of this, that might not be Latino or Mexican American or in LA. But I'm not doing it in a way where I'm like preaching, because I'm not an activist and I don't consider myself an activist, but I will do whatever I can to educate people, to see what we're doing wrong and to try to be better, right? So in this movie, it's not a social justice movie. It's a horror movie, but it's going to touch upon that, and different audiences are going to be able to connect with that moment, even if it's not a preachy movie about it.
No. Me encanta que lo estás explorando. Felicitaciones. Me
Gracias.
encanta que lo están explorando with genre. You need to connect with the folks of Café con Negro con genre, Leslie Rivera and Eunice Levi, that have conversations. There's some episodes on our YouTube channel, and they connected through PHLAFF, and we have been collaborating on this, and they've been doing this podcast and having conversations with filmmakers and both exploring, the genre space. And as you said, it's not a social justice film. Sometimes, that sometimes they try to label it as social justice, and it's less than one that it's not, and really like gets there. That's one piece. And the other part is that, mijo, sigue and do you, and when it comes to the colorism on both ends.
On both ends, yeah.
Sí, absolutamente. Yo recuerdo tener conversaciones con mi mamá, decirle, no, mamá, nadie aquí es blanco. But when we talk about decolonizing our minds, it goes deeper because we have drank this Kool-Aid and been in a space that it's all white supremacist.
Yeah, and even now,
you know, and that's what we have learned. It's not about attacking it. It's not. Es lo que es. Es lo que es. But what is it that what they say? You swim in it. If it smells like it, if it tastes like it.
It is. Yeah, it is. Just to add to that last point, you're right about colorism. I don't know if you like. I don't feel comfortable with this, but it's something we should talk about now. When job applications or whatever, you have to put like Hispanic or Latino. It's not a race, so I have to put that I'm Hispanic, Latino, and white, and I don't consider myself white.
Mark other, and I put equal. Let them figure it out.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Let them figure it out, and whenever, and humbly but respectfully, I refer myself as a light-skinned Boricua.
There you go. Yeah.
Because we're all a mix.
Exactly.
And I offered this to a young, actually like a twin that asked me, or you know, una nena en un sitio que yo trabajaba, y me dijo, Miss Maggie, what are you mixed with? Nena, I'm so mixed in the mix within the mix. I'm just Puerto Rican.
Exacto.
Dijo, oh, pero mi papá es puertorriqueño y mi mamá es puertorriqueña. You look like you're something else. Y lo único que me vino a la mente fue, le dije, have you ever had gumbo?
Exacto.
Si tiene 3 bowls, uno tiene más de aquello, uno tiene más del otro. They don't have the exact same portion with the same ingredients.
But it's gumbo.
We're a gumbo. We're a gumbo. And this is what, tú sabes, la parte del gumbo de donde salí yo, pero somos todos familia.
Exactly.
So, anyway, it's been absolutely a pleasure.
Thank you. Likewise. Thank you for the space.
Thank you for your work. No, absolutamente. Y pues I look forward to continue to build community with you and your collaborators. And gracias por ser parte de PHLAFF 2023.
A ti, muchas gracias. Gracias por tenerlos. Fue un honor, un placer, y claro, mantengamos en contacto. Me encantaría conocer más de la gente de la comunidad, de lo que está haciendo, porque el Philadelphia Latino Film Festival, como lo mencioné al principio, de hace unos años, veo que están tratando de not only make it bigger in terms of making it a bigger event, but making it bigger in terms of community, asegurarse de que todos estamos en contacto, de que estamos sacando no solo el que mi película estuvo en tu festival, sino de que conocí a 2 o 3 o 4 personas con las cuales puedo colaborar and help each other with our upcoming projects. I think that's beautiful and that's great. So thank you so much for doing it.
Eso es. Gracias.